a clap. Give us a round of applause, everybody. Hi, everyone. I'm Peter Renton, Chairman and Co-founder of Fintech Nexus.
And I'm Bo Bruskern, Co-founder and CEO of Fintech Nexus.
And in this video, we are going to do a bit of a retrospective, go through some of our favorite moments of the history of Fintech Nexus.
No better place to start than the beginning.
Yes, let's do it. Okay. 2013, June 20th to be exact, was our very first LendIt event in New York City. We let probably 50 people more than we should have let in, than when we were even allowed to let in. But it was a fantastic,
a hot, sweaty mess is what it was.
It was a hot, sweaty mess. And but what it showed to us is that we had something here. We had something that people cared about, that people were interested in, and that sort of set us on our way.
It was a great show.
It really was. So then next year, do you remember that trip we did February of 2014 to the UK for our first of many, many trips over the years?
Many trips. You made 20
I think
plus?
like 20, 26, 27, I think it was.
That's a lot of flight miles.
Yes, it is. But this was our first trip to set up our UK event, which came together in November of 2014. And that was a bit more organized than the first US event, that's for sure. But it also showed us that there was what we were talking about, the innovation in the lending space is what we were focused on back then. And really, the UK was a hotbed for that. It showed that there was demand there as well.
And our team was growing. That was the first event that Joy oversaw. She had joined us a month before, I think.
I think it was 2 or 3 months, actually.
Okay. Just enough time to sort of whip us into shape and actually make it a little more professional.
We needed her desperately because we were just flying by the seat of our pants.
That's
for sure.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think my favorite moment really in the whole history of our company was when Larry Summers came to speak at our event in spring of 2015 in New York City. We're at the Marriott Marquis in Times Square. And Larry Summers, of course, former Treasury Secretary, everyone knows him. At that stage, he was on the board of Lending Club, which is how we got him. But of course, he rolls in 15 minutes late. He goes like 20 minutes over, so we're running horrendously late. But
nobody cared.
Nobody cared. It was the absolute. We had, I think, room for like 1,800 people, and there wasn't a spare seat in the house for him. And that's when I think we all recognized that the online lending space was serious, that it had arrived.
Yeah, and so had we in a sense. I'm not sure we deserved Larry Summers, but we were aspirational about getting him. We got him, and then it just sort of boosted, I think, our aspirations for we can really do something here with this industry and maintain a central-ish position in the industry and try to rally support for what we were doing.
Yeah, and that was certainly evident. And I always remember the first thing he said. You can watch the whole thing still on YouTube, I think, the video. But he said he is optimistic about the future of the lending space because of the crowd that we had gathered for him.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. So then move on, fast forward a couple of years. Another one of my favorite moments was our first award show. Remember that?
I love that award show. It was it felt like there was a lot of pent up excitement that had been building for so long, and we had been through some trials as an industry. Nothing like what we were about to, but we felt like we had arrived at a place where we could do some celebrating.
Yeah,
right.
If you remember, we had what they call now the Mother's Day Massacre at Lending Club. That was really the number one company in the space. That had happened like 11 months before, and it was our first event after that. And the awards show kind of was a real cathartic moment. I know Scott Sanborn received the Innovator of the Year award, or the executive. What was it? God, I should know.
Probably executive.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
We should rewind?
Yeah, I'll rewind. And one of the things I love about that award show is that Scott Sanborn received the Executive of the Year award, and that was he had shepherded Lending Club and in some ways saved the online lending space. And he was it was a cathartic moment for him, and I think for the whole industry that we could finally. I think after that night we sort of started to put that behind us.
Yeah, and then we went to China.
That's right.
Holy smokes. So at this point we'd had our events in New York and San Francisco and now in London, and had our first award show, and really we're feeling like this was a big event for the Western Hemisphere, but then we looked across the Pacific and saw that in terms of online lending, China dwarfed everything we were doing. So we thought, well, let's go learn from them.
Yep, and that's reality. At that stage, China was bigger than the rest of the world combined when it came to online lending, and so we had the 2017 event there was the high point in China. Remember, we had like 2,500 people. It was a bit of a zoo. We had a main hall that only sat like 700, I think, and everyone wanted to be in there. It was like, remember, it was like 8 deep all the way around the room in that room. It was something else, and it was just, to me, it was so different. China is just so different, and we had fantastic partners on the ground there. Shout out to our friend Gabriel, who kind of helped put that together. But what an experience! Just not just that year, but going to China over several years. What an experience it was!
And the thing about the China event that made it so special for me was the executive tours, because we'd arrived 2 weeks before the actual the Shanghai event, and we would tour. The peer-to-peer lending leaders and other fintech leaders in China, in Beijing, in Hong Kong, in Shanghai, and elsewhere. Went to Ant Financial and other places, and just really had an amazing experience learning, but also coming together as this cohort of 15 to 20 Western entrepreneurs who were learning together about this other world.
Right. Yeah, truly life-changing experience for me. It was just all those Chinese trips. So then the next highlight for me is one that no one really knows about. I've never mentioned this before in public, but if you follow my interviews when I'm at our events, I always have an iPad. That's how I do my interviews, from my iPad with my questions. And so Karen Mills was doing a book signing. She was the former head of the SBA under President Obama, and she'd spoken at our event a couple of times in the past. And she's just written a new book, and she'd shipped out all these books to do a book signing, hundreds of books, and we couldn't find them. We'd lost them. And in the sort of, in the basement of the Moscone Center somewhere,
we had proof, a bill of lading or something that said that they had been delivered to Moscone. But as anyone who's been to Moscone knows, there's Moscone West, there's Moscone
South.
I don't know. It's a huge facility. And they were somewhere in the basement of Moscone.
So I went on stage with Karen Mills, and it was like, I think it was like a 25-minute interview, and we still hadn't found them when I went on stage. And I said to our people, I said, text me if you find these books, because what I'm going to do, I'm just not even going to mention it. And then sure enough, it was about 10 minutes from the end that I got a text saying, books are outside the door, table is set up, everything's ready to go. So I just calmly kind of say, now Karen, can your new book, you open to doing a book signing? And she said yes. And then there was a line of about 150 people waiting to get a free book signed for her. No one knew how close we came to screwing that up.
And in the hat tip kind of realm, we have to tip our hat to Matt Murnane, who has been just a stalwart member of our team. He's the guy who found him.
Yep.
And he found him hundreds of meters away from where they were supposed to be. Yeah. And he had these boxes of books, and he was sprinting through the basement of Moscone to get them to the table, at which time he calmly texted Peter and said, everything's cool.
Yes, that was kind of funny. So we spoke of China, but then 2019 things weren't looking good in China, were they?
It got shellacked. It was brutal.
Some of our major sponsors ended up, going out of business. Some of them ended up in prison.
Right.
Which was a horrible situation and something that we obviously had no idea about. But basically, we went from having 40, 50. We had I topped out at like 70 something sponsors to zero. Like we literally had zero sponsors like 4 months out. So we thought we had to cancel.
Yeah.
But that gave us the opportunity then to focus on Latin America for the first time,
which was amazing.
Yeah,
we kicked that off. Joy and I, Joy Schwartz, we mentioned her earlier. We kicked that off with a roundtable tour of Latin America. I think it was 11 days, 7 cities in 11 days or something like that. And it was amazing. It was clear that the Latin American community was appreciative of our attention, that we wanted to bring the LendIt brand to Latin America. And in December of that year?
Yeah, it was December.
December of that year, we did kick off our first LATAM conference, which was phenomenal. We did that in partnership with Fina Vista. And boy, it was one of my all-time favorite events.
Yep, it really was. And the Latin American community just have always appreciated what we've done, and that I love. And to this day, they're still a big part of what we do.
Yeah, for sure.
So then 2020.
Oh
shit.
Yeah. We came into 2020 thinking, all right, we're really well positioned. We've kind of we've fixed some things operationally. We've recruited this great team where everything's heading in the right direction. Yeah. 2020 is going to be our best year yet.
We were convinced it was going to be the best year ever.
And it really was in so many ways.
Not financially.
And not in the way we expected at all.
Yeah, so that was what was really amazing, if you cast your mind back to March and April of 2020, where everything was falling apart and people just didn't know what was going on. And so we started doing these webinars really close. Like we did our first webinar, I think it was like March 15th, March 18th, something like that. We really put it together in like 5 days, and we had hundreds of people. And then I remember one that we did, it was on consumer lending I think it was like maybe the end of March. Well, we had 1,000 people register in like a week and a half, and it still remains to be our most popular webinar we've ever done as far as registration goes. But that was when we realized that people desperately needed a forum like ours to find out what other people are doing and to find out what they can do, because there's been no precedent for this in the history of our country for the last 100+ years.
Yeah. The thing that we realized as an organization was that our mission hadn't changed, our community hadn't changed, the need for our services hadn't changed. What changed was our delivery model. We couldn't gather in person. We just had to ship our information online, and our community was ready to do that. And in fact, desperate to learn from each other. And so there was a period there where I personally felt incredibly inspired to be producing the content that we were producing and to just keep hammering. And so those are some treasured moments, as terrifying and as difficult as they were from an organizational perspective. They were really testament to sort of what we had built and the voice that we had in the industry. Right.
And then we had like the PPP and all the small business lenders, and that we had there was tremendous interest in learning about how people were managing the PPP, and that really, I think, those sort of 3 months where like we were just churning out content or churning out webinars like 2 or 3 a week, and they were all just filling up. It was inspiring. It was also challenging because we suddenly had to cancel our in-person event, and that was not something we could ever have imagined. And that back then, that almost killed us. We were that close from going under back then.
For 18 months, we were in existential crisis. But you know what? Our sponsors and our ticket buyers showed up for us and kept us in business. We wouldn't have survived without two things: the PPP, for sure, and the sponsorship and other support from those of you who are stalwarts in our community and supported us.
Right.
And so we put on our virtual show in first major virtual show in September of 2020. Yeah. We produced it here in Denver, and
at a TV studio no less.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Yeah.
I remember I brought my family kind of on stage. It was on camera, and at the very end of it, and I started welling up. I mean, it was like, oh my God, we actually did it.
Yeah,
like we made it through this.
And we had probably our best speaker roster ever, and we got great reviews from a virtual event in September of 2020. But by the time we did 2021, of course, virtually as well, and then back to in person. This was my, I think, favorite event we ever did, was the event we did in New York in, I think it was May of 2022. We were back to in person, and everyone was just so happy. So happy to. I mean, I probably had 500 people come up to me saying, "Oh, Peter, it's so great to be back. We love what you guys are doing. Thank you for bringing us all back together again." And then it was financially quite a good show for us as well. So that was the high point, I think, after many low points of the previous couple of years.
Yeah, I will say that looking back over the last 10 years. There are so many great victories that we had as an industry, as a community, and as an organization. And the number of great people that we've been able to work with, most especially our teammates at Fintech Nexus, at LendIt Fintech, at LendIt, those people are so special to us, and I'll miss them tremendously. And the community is got to be second to none. And so I know that some of you watching this are thinking to yourselves, yeah, but what about that one time? We love that time too. We just couldn't spend 3 hours on a video.
Right.
So
it was hard to nail down a top 10. That's for sure, because there's been so many. But I think, now obviously, we are coming to a close as a company, and, it is, it's a very sad time. We gave it our best shot, and we haven't been able to continue as a company. And we just wanted to mark this occasion that, while it is sad that we'll no longer be Fintech Nexus anymore, that is winding down. There have been so many great moments, and the last 11 years has been by far the best 11 years of my career.
So incredibly fulfilling to serve you and to be a part of the community, while not building our own fintech, hopefully supporting a lot of your successes and promoting the betterment of our financial fabric over the course of the last 11 years.
So, from the bottom of my heart, I would like to say thank you. Thank you for being part of our community. Thank you for contributing to us. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey.
Cheers.
That's a wrap.
I think so.
That was good.
Yeah.
I think it was really good.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, we don't really need to cut much out. It's just that one time I screwed up about the Sanborn thing.
That would have been a one-take wonder but for that.
Yeah.
Peter!
Damn.
Let's do it again.
I'm not doing it again. That was good.
Let's hope it recorded.
You nailed it in half an hour.
Yeah, he hit